All right, if we'll just go ahead and start with questions.
Cuonzo, how have you seen, like, especially through the scrimmages in the last few weeks, the familiarity grow with these guys and their ability to play as fast as you want and make quick decisions at times?
Oh, it's been good. It's been good. We have multiple guys that can make plays, especially in the half court. We only have one guy we outlet the ball to and made baskets, and that's most cases our point guard. But after we get across the court, just making plays, reading the defense and stuff that we practice. But I like the fact that once we get it across, you do have multiple guys that can make plays with the basketball, especially headed downhill, getting to the rim.
Cuonzo, I know you talked about like an 8 or 9 man rotation. Do you have an idea kind of how you'd like to start the season, or is that going to be something you see kind of evolving as far as the guys over the first few weeks?
No, we have an idea. If we started a game, I certainly have a 5, and I think we have a very solid 8, 9 and 10, depending on situations, foul troubles, flow of games, and there will be games, especially in the preseason, where as Jordan is 7'3", how many minutes can he get a team that's so small? Not that he's not productive, but situations like that. So then you have guys that can make those necessary adjustments. You can go small in those lineups. Yeah, but I do have a solid 8 in my head. Yes.
Talks a lot about leadership with Javon. Really, with Javon specifically, how have you seen him grow as a leader and maybe change from what he's been the past few years?
Well, he's always been all business since he stepped on campus. But I think more than anything, just a calmness about him. As you mature over the course of time, he understands the importance of a student athlete, life after basketball, my next moves, meeting people on campus, not just going to class, but getting to know my professor, the dean of certain schools, that sort of thing. As you grow into it, we talk about it when guys are freshmen, but you really don't understand and comprehend that until you get older, and the impact of what it means to be a student athlete and ultimately get a degree and hopefully have a successful career. But I think he has more peace to him now, and what I mean by that is just as a leader, you understand what it means to lead, whether you've seen good leadership or not so much good leadership. So you understand what that means. You know what you want and how you want leadership to look when you were a freshman. So he understands that part. But he commands a lot of respect just on his work ethic alone and how he approaches practice, how he approaches games. So it makes it a lot easier for him.
Cuonzo, with the transfers, the 3 guys that came from kind of mid-majors, what can you sense about just their hunger to be on this stage where it's going to be in a major conference?
The one thing I've noticed with these guys, as well as like Cassius and Drew, is the appreciation. Not so much the talent level. If you can play, you can play. But I just think the appreciation when you come to this level, small thing, not to be boasted about, but charter flights, your locker room improvement, those sorts of things, you respect and appreciate that. Not that they took it for granted at other places, but man, this is so now they understand. Like, man, if I do the things I need to do on the floor, these are the added bonus to my successes. So that sort of thing, I do notice that part, and they don't take that part for granted. But as far as the basketball part, I think once you get to this point, anybody, whether you go to a place as a freshman, I think oftentimes it's probably not strong enough, not big enough, need to work on some things. But after 2 years of college, I mean, if you can play, you can play.
For Deshaun Gordon, how valuable has his Power 5 experience in playing in the Big 12 been? How have you seen that already?
Well, just playing high-level basketball on a consistent basis. I mean, you're talking having an opportunity to play against Baylor twice in a year, the national champions, and he played well in the last game against them. But just that feel. But he already played hard. He comes from great tutelage under Coach Weber, so he understands it. He competes. And the great thing oftentimes when you transfer, and I've always said this, when you transfer, did you address this situation, whatever it was, you know what it is. Did you address it? Because if not, it'll be the same situation. And he understands it. And the great thing about that, he played for a guy that I played for as a player. Obviously, Coach Weber was an assistant coach when I was at Purdue. So I could call Coach Weber and talk about him and talk what some of the things that make him successful, some of the things he needed to improve upon. And Coach Weber loves him and wants to see him successful. So it's not a case of they had a poor relationship. He wants to see him successful. So it was a smooth transition.
What was that led him here and that you feel like he's?
Well, I just think the key is, of course, when you open it up, you recruit a guy, and you know he's talented. We saw him in high school, so you know he's a talented player. But I think the thing for him having an opportunity to come in and play from day one, because I don't think too many guys want to transfer and sit. You know, so it's a tremendous opportunity to come play for day one, and he was familiar with me and our style. And then obviously Coach Weber again said to him, I think this would be a great place for you, and here's the reasons why. Yes.
Cuonzo, what have been, your messages to this team in terms of, the mentality you want them to, have a season, especially with, having transfers and being young guys and making it?
One of the things we always talk about, and you guys probably heard me say 1,000 times, you always try to play as hard as you can play, be as tough as you can be. You want to play the game smart, then ultimately you want to play the game together. I think when you do those things, you have a chance to be successful. Selfless basketball, but always very aggressive, and individual players make plays. But you want to be a team first team, and I think that's very important.
Have you seen that cohesiveness kind of grow?
Smooth.
Especially with past conferences and scrimmages?
Hadn't been a problem at all. But again, these are these guys transferring in. These are good guys, and we spend hours, a lot of hours outside of, because during COVID in the recruiting process, not the high school guys, but the transfers, you had to spend a lot of hours in recruiting them via Zoom. So that means Zoom calls with the players, probably doing it once or twice a week with their families. We didn't necessarily do Zoom calls with the coaches that they play for. We was always on the phone with them, just get as much intel as possible. So that part has been good. But I like to think they're all good guys, and they've proven it so far.
Javon was saying that he's told the team, hey, ignore the outside predictions and projections and stuff. Is that something you use to motivate your guys, or do you ignore it? If people outside might not, be predicting huge things for them this season.
I mean, even when I was a ball player, I never wasted time with it. Couldn't wait till we laced them up, against that opponent. But I didn't sit there in bed every night like, oh, they picked us this or that. I mean, that's a waste of time. You're a ball player, you put the work in. I don't know how much time you have to worry about and deal with that, because you still have to perform. I mean, you can feel a certain way, but let your production show how you feel, as opposed to spending a lot of time talking about it.
As far as the season opener, what excitement level can you sense from your guys to kind of go out there and show people who you guys are as a team?
I think they're very excited. They treated the scrimmages like they were games, because they were so excited to play. Because again, you go against each other for so long, and I think in their minds, and I know we felt this way as coaches, the unknown, because there's so many new guys, who your starters are, who's the guys probably leading score, that sort of thing. So you feel it as ball players, and I think they were excited for those two scrimmages, and they did a good job in those scrimmages, and I think they're ready to go now.
Preparation for Central Michigan, can you kind of take us through that, maybe some things that stand out to you?
Well, not really. Only reason because they had a closed scrimmage, and it's always hard getting intel that way. Tony Barber's a new coach there. They have new personnel, so we'll just kind of prepare like we assume they'll play. And it's more. This is one of those games where you don't have personnel like that, or scouting information. Is one of those games you have to practice what you do best. So that's why we cover ball screen coverage, we cover post D, we cover situations. They have smaller lineups. How would Jordan play in that lineup? So you always prepare like that. Just the same for when they play against us. They can kind of go off what they think we do as a program, but they don't really know for sure with new personnel.
So talking about blocking out the noise, how much harder is that than it was when you were a player, and how do you help your guys considering these, and how much noise can?
I think it's extremely hard for today's athlete. That's professional athlete, college athlete. I think it's extremely hard because they have access to their phone. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that the issue, in my opinion, is what's being said, especially when you're talking about youth. You can criticize a coach as an adult, but when some of the statements that are made about prospects, especially high school and college athletes, 18 to 23 years old, they're still young men and women, and some of the stuff that is said about them, just it's sad and it's unfortunate that an adult can speak like that about a young man or a young lady when it's just a sport. That's mind-blowing to me. I can't wrap my mind around it. Then you wonder why in society you have anxiety, stress levels, depression, suicide, all these issues. That's real. Because I got to live with that every day. I see that every day. And they said that about me. That's tough. And you got to go into locker rooms. That's one thing I wish could change, especially when you're dealing with you're athletes. I mean, as an adult and coaches goes with it, I have no problem with that. When you're talking about prospects like that, I don't understand that.
How do you help them block it out?
Oh, we talk about it all the time, and I bet. But again, they have access to it. That phone is a part of their life, and I'm not saying that's a bad. It's a part of their life. We didn't have a phone. I would imagine I'd been the same way if I had a phone like that, because I see it all the time. And then where you get in trouble at, you have a, in your mind you have a good game, and I guess you pull your name up and it feels good. And all of a sudden that next game is not so good. It's like you're looking at your phone, you know like that, and that's hard because there's a next day. And I wish that part could change. I mean, I wish there were certain laws that they couldn't see or deal with that. And I mean, I'm only talking sports. I'm a coach, but I mean talking youth in schools. When you're talking bullying, that sort of thing, it goes on and on and on. So it amazes me how people can criticize, but if they've never walked in those shoes before, it's amazing to me how you can say, well, they should do this, should do that, but you've never worn those sneakers before. You've never taken a big shot. You've never missed a big shot. You've never taken a big free throw down the stretch. You've never been in those shoes. How you know what it feel like? It's mind-blowing to me.
As far as the younger guys on your team, what's your message to them, heading into the season? Do you kind of use Javon and Kobe to maybe help them kind of block that stuff out as well?
That's life. You got to deal with life. I just give them life situations. Because what happens is, it's just being strong and understanding, put it in perspective. Because as a part of it, you go through life, and there are bigger things in life that they will deal with, and some have already dealt with it. Some have lost their parents. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff out there, but so it's hard to say block it out because that's their world, and especially if somebody that likes me and all of a sudden they say negative things about me, that's hard for me to deal with. So I just say, brace yourself for battle. That's life. It's just life's battles. And it goes with the territory when you're on this stage.
Cuonzo, kind of a big picture question, kind of coming off of that. There's been a lot made just about putting on the football side of things. I'm just curious, just for anyone who doesn't understand, what's kind of your philosophy when it comes to recruiting? What type of guy do you want entering this program? So when you have those issues come up through RSV, a guy you can more jive with or whatever, does that come into play?
Well, a guy one has competitive spirit, that really competes, is trying to win. Because what you find a lot of times, and I don't care how talented the prospect is, I'm not sure if they look up at the scoreboard to see who won the game. I mean, somebody has to win the game. I want an intelligent, athlete, and what I mean by it doesn't have to be all A's in school, but an understanding, have values, and a level of intelligence of what's going on the floor. And then you want a person that values teammates. That's important. Like I was around teammates that, those guys, like one of my teammates, when Glenn Robinson would score 30 points a game, he would sit there and try to get him 40 points. I mean, he was okay with that. If he scores 40, let's try to get him 50. And this guy was a very successful player as well. And I thought that was a great attribute to have for a young player, to be okay with somebody else having success and applauding his success. So I want guys like that really appreciate when their teammates having success, let's roll, because we all win together. I think it's very important that you understand it. Then you always want leadership, and leadership can be the verbal leadership, or it can be the leadership just by your actions and your work ethic. Like Javon has always been a leader that led by example. Kobe's the guy that leads by example. Where Javon has taken that next step, with his oral communication and leadership, and he's done a great job with it. So, but I do think you can be a leader. You don't have to be as vocal, but you can be a leader with your actions.
With Javon on the court, he was close to 40% three-point shooter year last year. Should he be a little bit more high-volume shooter?
I think so. He's really shooting the lights out, and again, he's never one to make excuses, but he dealt with a lot of injuries last season. He fought through it as best he could, but he's really shooting the ball well right now. He is. But again, he puts the work. He puts so much time into it. So as a coach, you want all your guys to be successful. When guys work like that, you want those guys to make it happen.
You mentioned Tony Barbie being a new coach, and a lot of the teams you play in the non-conference this season are teams that have new coaches and have had a lot of turnover. What are the advantage and disadvantages of that for you guys?
I think the advantage is in the preparation of how we operate. It's not so much whether it's a new coach, because if you have the personnel to do what you need to do, you can still be successful. So I just think it's what we do and how we operate and how we gel, because, again, I'm just as excited to play that first game because I like to see who we are. I thought we had good showings behind the scenes, but it's a different dynamic when you're around fans, when you have fans in the facilities and you're scoring the basketball. This guy scored the ball, make the extra pass. We did that in the scrimmage. We did that in practice. Now we're still making an extra pass. Are we still blocking? Are we still sprinting the same way? So we're still doing the same things that makes us successful.
Do you think there's a difference in not just in your team, but do you expect a difference kind of across the country in the early season versus last year where everything was so disjointed and so many people hadn't practiced and all that? Do you expect to see teams start at a higher level this year?
Well, I think so, but also I still think COVID is real. I think that's real, and you still always deal with the dynamic of injuries. But I think so. I mean, I think there will be a tremendous amount of excitement, especially when you have fans in the arena. So I'm excited to get rolling.
Cuonzo, you mentioned kind of Javon in this higher volume. Most of the year last year, he was off the ball a lot. Kind of, should we expect some kind of initiating the offense from him, or who else do we expect to initiate the offense?
Well, I think we have 3 point guards on paper. When you say point guard in that position, most cases, Boogie Coleman, Anton, and Caleb. Now you have guys like Javon to bring it up, Kobe will bring it up, because you'll put those guys in situations where they bring it up. But if the ball goes in the basket, most cases we outlet it to our point guard. Now if Javon, Kobe, and those guys get the rebound, they'll bring it up and initiate the offense. Yes.
With Caleb, what have you thought of just kind of, his vision for passing so far and how he's done?
He has a good feel for the game, good size at the point guard position. He can do other things. I think he's proven that he's a better three-point shooter right now than I thought he was, but he's doing a good job because he understands he plays hard on defense, good size on him. I like where he is right now.
We talked a lot about Javon, but Kobe also returning. So how have you seen him maybe grow on and off the court through this offseason?
Just the same old Kobe, and because his growth is, one day at a time. He's a those two guys. When you're talking Kobe and Javon, they're professionals in how they approach day-to-day operations. Whether it's I need to get treatment, working on my game, going to class. I'm very successful in the classroom. I take care of business off the court. I mean, they just do what they do, and they make your job as a coach a lot easier. You respect what they do, and oftentimes as a coach, you can take for granted what they bring to the table instead of applauding what they do much more. So I've been conscious of really recognizing those guys doing a great job. You're doing a great job. It's not necessarily the production on the floor, but just, man, can you imagine being successful every day, going to class every day, not only going to class, but being successful in the classroom. And more than that, being present in practice where you're not injured all the time, even if it knacks in it. Like I said, you had to fight Javon to get off the court if he's injured. But those guys are present every day, and there's something to be said about that. And the rehab, you don't have to call them and say, did you get your rehab in? 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, getting the rehab in. And it's just those guys, and again, those guys will be very successful in life because they understand there's something bigger than them, and they're part of a team.
Cuonzo, I know you mentioned this 8 or 9 man rotation. Where does Sean kind of fit in that? Because he's kind of in a weird position.
Yes.
Being that he was here last year, and now you got a lot of guys to go out there on the wing.
Sean's really progressing, and I think the biggest thing with Sean, his talent is one of our better talent. You're talking sheer talent, running, jumping, athleticism. The key with Sean right now is just the reps under his belt, just the years under his belt, because he has all the parts, and they're just the nuances of the game, small things in the game that you just pick up over time when you start playing the game at 9, 10, 11 years old, you pick up. So those things Sean are learning. Again, a very intelligent guy in the classroom, but just learning the things of the game. And I think he has a tremendous future. But I think he'll find his way in there. I do.
Now, is there anybody on this team in your mind that has a green light to shoot for three? I would say all of them. Now the guy I'm about to say, he might think he has a green like Jordan, but all of them, because it's what they practice. And all of them can make threes. So it's certainly what they practice. Now, some can make them off the dribble, off the pull-up. But all of them, again, he think he can shoot them. But Jordan made them up top yesterday at the top of the key. But
But all of them shoot them. All of them have the green light to shoot the ball from three. Yes.